Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Shri Chinmaya Yatishasya Gurum Vande Tapovanam Tam Himavad Vibhutim Vai Jnana Vairagya Rupinam Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaha. Bhadram Pashyemakshabhya Jatraha. Sthirairangai Stuštuvagam Sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitayadayuhu. Swasti na Indro Vriddhashravaha. Swasti na Pusha Vishvavedaha. Swasti nastarksho Arishtanemihi. Swasti no Brihaspatirdadatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om, my humble pranams to you all. So we are in the third query of the Prasnopanishad. And this starts with the student asking the teacher, "Oh Bhagwan, from where has this prana come? How does it enter the body? And how does it maintain itself by dividing into five, continues to live in this body? How does it leave? How is the outer universe maintained and the inner universe is all maintained?" The teacher was very happy with the question. He said, "Ati prashnan prikshasi." You are asking a very good question, not only good, but which is transcendental. It's not, answer is not simple, okay, where did prana come from? But you are asking for the original source of this entire universe. So he was very happy. And he said that the prana comes from Atman, from the consciousness, from Brahman, like a shadow. And last week we had spent some time about shadow and how this world is unreal like a shadow. We are not saying the world does not exist, but it has as much reality as a shadow. Just as a tree is there and you see the shadow, does the shadow exist or does not exist? It exists because we can see it, but it's not real. The real is the tree, and that is what we mean by real and unreal. It's not that I don't experience the world, but the reality of the world is Atman, Brahman, and what we do is we spend our time in fixing the shadow correcting the shadow. Oh, I'm busy taking care of the shadow. And we don't have time for the real. I am so busy. I don't have time to meditate. I don't have time to study. I don't have time to pray. Why? Because I am fixing the shadow. So that is the purpose of the Rishi telling us that this world is unreal. So it's not that I am unreal. My body, mind, and intellect is a shadow, is an appearance. And whatever I see, it is a role I am playing. I am playing a part in a play, but I should not forget my original nature. And that's why the masters always use the example of dream, because dream is very familiar to us. You know, we in the dream, we see the whole world. Say I'm fasting for Navratri and 9 days, 7, 8 days, I have not eaten well, just one meal a day. And then at night I go to sleep. And because I sleep hungry, I get invited to a wedding in my dream. And there I'm eating chappan bhog, 56 foods with desserts. And somebody comes and tells me, Are, what is this? This shadi is not real. This food is not real. You say, what are you talking? It's not real. Let me enjoy the food right now. They say, no, you are the waker and actually you are starving. And they say, no. While I am in the dream appears very real. So similarly, this world to us appears very real. And Mahatma Ji, like Puja Gurudev and Shankaracharya Ji and all come and tell us that treat this world like a dream, perform whatever role you have, but do not forget the waker. Do not forget your true nature. You say, yeah, but how can you say it's a dream? I have continuity, like I go to sleep at night and my bedroom is there, my bed is there, my house is there. When I wake up, it is still there. So there is continuity. How can you say it's a dream? But in the dream also we have continuity. Suppose in your dream, you sleep not in your bedroom, but say you sleep in your parents' home in India. You go to sleep and when you wake up, you are still in the same home. So continuity does not mean it is real. And this is covered in a lot of detail in Mandukya Upanishad, where we always think that if it is same, if it is continuous, but it is not continuous, it is changing. And whatever is changing is not real. Trikala abadhitaha. Whatever is real is that which was the same in the past, present, and future. Anything that is changing or was not there in the past or will not be there in the future, it's not that it does not exist, but does not have the same degree of reality. Guruji says, you want to hear, I'll say relative reality. We say, yeah, Guruji, that is good. At least you have given us some reality, relative, theek hai. But in fact, the problem is that we spend so much time on this and forget what is real. And what creates, why does the prana enter a particular body? That was the second question. And that was said, manokritena, because of the reflection of consciousness in the mind due to previous karmas and previous thoughts and previous vasanas, make this prana appear in a particular body. So this is, so far we have come. Now the next question is, how does it divide? We already saw where it came from and how does it enter the body and what is the reason for a prana to take a particular body. Now we shall see how does it divide into 5. Is mantra number 4. Jayashree, you would like to chant? You can unmute, please. Yatha samradeva adhikritan viniyunkte etan graman adhitishthasva
aditishtasva
ityevamaivaisha
ityevamevaishya
prana itaran pranan
prana itaran pranan
prithak prithageva sannidhate.
pratak pratak eva sannidhate.
Okay, together. And please mute. Yatha samradeva adhikritan viniyungte etan graman adhitishthasva ityevamevaisha prana itaran pranan prithak prithak eva sannidhate. So the Rishi has given us a very beautiful example. He says yatha, just as whenever they say yatha, then it also has to be followed by tatha in the same way. So yatha samrad. Samrad here means the emperor, the king. Samrad eva, the king alone is the one that decides what happens in the kingdom. What does he do? Adhikritan viniyungte. Adhikritan means different officers, different heads of different departments. Viniyungte, he appoints them. And appoints them on what basis? If he's truly a correct king, based on qualification, not because he is my friend or my son's friend or something, but truly one who is qualified. So he appoints them, viniyungte. And what does he say? Etan graman, etan graman. So you go to this village, another one go to that village, adhitishthasva. So you rule and govern these villages under my control. See, the officer knows that he is appointed by the king only as long as the king is happy with his job, with his performance, otherwise not. So his job is to serve the king. So same way, iti evam aisha prana. So this mukhya prana, we'll talk about what is this mukhya prana. Itaran pranan, other pranas, other 5 pranas, prithak prithak eva, separately, prithak prithak eva, sannidhatte, assigns. So the different pranas are assigned based on their qualification, based on what they can do. So like if you put somebody who is very good with defense and you put him in commerce, he will fail. So similarly, each prana is appointed based on their qualification, based on their aptitude, based on what they can do. So we already saw that, the example, the king appoints the ministers. So here, Esha prana, so this main prana, mukhya prana, which is called Hiranyagarbha, which is the creator, which is Hiranyagarbha, which is the Prajapati, and that appoints and enters as the mukhya prana, as the main prana, and then divides into 5. We know prana, apana, samana, dhyana, udana. Prana is intake, apana is excretion, samana is digestion, dhyana is circulation, and udana gets active at the time of death. We'll be spending in this particular query time on each of those 5. So it divides into 5, not only into 5, but then they have also, our rishis have described upapranas, which are the secondary pranas. So for example, for burping, it is called naga. So when you have a lot of gas or you are burping or you have overeaten, then naga becomes active. Then for blinking, they call it kurma. Then for sneezing, it is called krikala. So they have names for all these physiological functions. For yawning, they have devadatta. And devadatta becomes very active in the Vedanta class. People start yawning, some people go to sleep, and that is not devadatta, that is Nidra Devi. Nidra Devi takes over. So it's very popular in the Vedanta class. So Devadatta is very active.
At night.
And then, of course, at night. And then the fifth one is Dhananjaya. Dhananjaya is the one that is responsible for opening and closing of valves. As I mentioned last week, thousands of years ago, our rishis knew that the valves are opening and closing in the heart, which modern science only described in the 16th century. A doctor called Harvey described opening and closing of the valves, which our rishis knew thousands of years ago. So each prana is given a particular location, as we said, the intake, excretion, digestion, and so on, based upon its qualification. So that is how the pranas are divided. Now, the rishi will talk a little more about each of those pranas. Jagrati, you have this? So we'll chant mantra number 5. Payu pasthe panam.
Payu parthe panam.
Chakshu shrotre.
Chakshu sotre.
Mukhanasika
Mukhanasikabyam.
Prana swayam pratisthate.
Pranam swaya pratisthate.
Madhye tu samanaha.
Madhye tu samanaha.
Esha hetad hutam.
Esha etam utam.
Annam samam nayati.
Annam samam nayati.
Tasmadetaha.
Tasmadetaha.
Saptarjisho bhavanti.
Sapta chithos bhavanti.
You can please mute, we'll all chant together. Payu pasthe panam. Chakshu shrotre mukhanasikabyam. Prana swayam pratisthate. Madhye tu samanaha. Esha hetad hutam annam samam nayati. Tasmadeta saptarchisho bhavanti. So, payu means organs of excretion. And upastha is organs of reproduction. So that is the lower part of the body, and that is apanam. So apanam is active in the lower parts of the body for excretion and reproduction. And the mukhya prana, the main prana stays where? Chakshu, Shrotre, Mukha, Nasika, Abhyam. So in the ears, in the eyes, ears, mouth, nose. In the 4, they say, what about the 5th sense? You know, you have talked about hearing, smelling, tasting, and, and seeing, but where is the touch? So they say that tongue is responsible for touch also, because tongue can feel the heat and the cold. So the tongue is included in the skin. So by mentioning 4, they are including all 5. That is how we understand. And then, so in these 4 prana swayam pratisthate, the main prana for intake itself pratisthate stays in these upper parts of the body, in the face, where it is responsible for intake. And then madhye tu samanaha, in the middle is samana, which is responsible for digestion, which we'll do in the next mantra. And esha hetat, so this here indeed, hutam annam samam nayati. Hutam means the oblations are offered, which is connected with the next line. But annam samam nayati means the grain that we eat is by the samana, it is transferred to the vyana, which then carries it to the other parts of the body. So samam nayati, so the samana digests it, modifies it, gets it ready, hands it over to vyana to carry. And tasmad eta, and this hutam, this oblation is offered where? Eta saptarchisho bhavanti, saptarchisha. These 7 flames are burning and they are fed. So as Gurudev says, a lot of Western scholars say that this Upanishad is the babbling of humanity in its infancy, and it doesn't make any sense because they don't have the right guru. Unless you have a right guru, they'll say, where are the 7 flames burning in the body? So that's why we need somebody like Pujya Gurudev or Shankaracharya ji, because all of them follow Shankaracharya ji's bhashya. So let us see what is prana. So, Lata always says, what is the context? So prana has 4 meanings depending on the context. One is Hiranya Garbha. It is the total creator. Hiranya Garbha is also called prana. Then prana is the total energy that sustains not only the bodies, but all the planets and the stars. So that is the second meaning of prana. Third meaning of prana is this, what we call this, Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, the physiological function. So that is the third meaning. And the fourth meaning of prana is the one that's intake. So we should not get confused because the Rishi keeps saying prana, prana. We need to know what is the context in which the word prana is being used. So here, prana is used in the form of intake, that the main prana, when it enters the body, it divides. So prana divides, apana, as we said, excretes, and samana digests, distributes. And samana is also covered in the 15th chapter by Bhagavan Krishna. Prana, apana, samakritva, pachamyannam, chaturvidam. I digest the 4 kinds of food that is swallowed, that is chewed, that is sucked and licked. So 4 kinds of food are digested by samana. And what happens? What are the 7 flames? 7 flames are the sense organs from which, like from the eyes, all the sights are fed. From the ear, the sounds go. From the nose, the smell. From the mouth, the taste and the touch and all. So where do they go? They go inside. And whom are they offered to? Bhagavan. God is within us. So when I am eating or drinking or seeing, I should remember these are all ahutis. I am offering them to Bhagavan. So when I'm offering something to Bhagavan, we have to make sure it's clean, it's pure, it is right, it is not dishonest. So that one has to always remember that the purpose of my life is yoga, not bhoga. Yoga is connecting with God. Bhoga is just for sense pleasures. That's why you just chanted Shiv Manas Puja. Puja te vishayopabhoga rachna nidra samadhi sthiti. So whatever I am consuming, oh Lord, is your puja. So whatever I see through my eyes, through my ears, through all my sense organs are my offerings to you. So when I am doing that, then what I have to do is restrict my sense indulgence, not indulge too much, but use the energy for the benefit of the body and use this to turn within. And apana is for excretion. So when I have overeaten and then say I have not excreted for 2-3 days, then finally one day I go, Tyagat Shantir Anantaram. Gurudev in the 12th chapter. Bhagavan Shri Krishna says in the 12th chapter, Tyagat Shantir Anantaram. But there he means Tyaga means Tyaga of karma phala, then you get Shanti. But here we get, or if you have to empty your bladder and you're driving on the freeway and the next exit is 25 minutes away, finally, when you pull into the gas station, Tyagat Shantir Anantaram. So, so that's why apana is as important as prana. It is, and in fact, they say each prana is subtler than the other. The prana and then apana is subtler, then samana is subtler, then vyana and udana. So each succeeding prana is subtler than the previous prana. And then they say we have the 7 fires, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 2 eyes, 1 mouth, and constantly ahutis are being offered. And in the commentary, they say that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, which means we should listen to twice as much as we talk. But what we do, we listen very little and we keep our mouth constantly busy, either in talking or in eating. So they say use the mouth less, use the ears more. And in most relationships, that is the problem. Wife says, he never listens to me. Why? So because he's not using the ears. So that's why they say you should listen more and talk less and eat less. So spend more time in listening. And that listening also means Shravana, listening to the guru, to the teacher, and using the knowledge for inner growth. So that is also the source of a lot of conflicts, even between nations. There is problems. Why? Because one country doesn't listen to another, and that's when all the problems start. So the samana digests all kinds of food. As we mentioned, every kind of food is digested, whatever we put in, whether it's morning, noon, night, middle of the night. Gurudev says it very, very humorously. One place he says, 8, 9 o'clock, you have come back from a party and you have eaten, and God within says, okay, now at least this guy is going to go to sleep, and then I can do my digestion. And then 10 o'clock, he says, Arey, ye kya aa raha hai? With his South Indian accent. Now this guy is having ice cream and coffee, after having a full party. He said, this guy never stops. So the point is that one has to regulate and live a life of moderation and self-control. Not that one shouldn't eat or drink, but live a life of self-control. So that is how the apana and prana works in the reproductive, excretory, and in the intake. And also we talked about samana. Now we'll talk about vyana. Vyana charati. Viniji, you have this book? Can you chant? Can you repeat? You have this? Prasnopanishad?
Flames, 7
flames.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, 7 flames. I said, the fires from which ahutis are being offered.
And these are
Yeah, 7. I mentioned 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, mouth. And from them, ahutis are being offered to God, who is the inner controller. And that is the Prajapati, which is occupying this role within. So now we'll do mantra number 6. Hridi Hesha Atma.
Hridi Hesha Atma.
Atraidadekashatam.
Atraitadekashatam.
Nadinam.
Nadinam.
Tasam shatam.
Tasam shatam.
Ekaikasyam.
Ekaikasyam.
Dvasaptatihi.
Dvasaptatihi.
Pratishakhan.
Pratishakhan.
Nadi Sahasrani.
Nadi Sahasrani.
Bhavantyasu. Vyanascharati.
Vyanascharati.
Good. You can please mute. We'll all chant together. Hridi Hesha Atma. Atraitadekashatam nadinam tasam shatam shatam ekaikasyam dvasaptatihi dvasaptatihi pratishakha nadi sahasrani bhavantyasu vyanascharati. So Vyanaha Charati. Vyanaha, because of the Sandhi rule, becomes Vyanash. The Visarga becomes Sha. So Vyanaha Charati. In the end it says, so how does Vyana move? So he says, Hridi, in the heart, he Esha Atma. So this Atma. So now Atma we said is all pervading consciousness. But now we found suddenly a different name for Atma. If you say Atma is all pervading, how can you say it is in the Hrit, in the heart? So we'll talk about that. Hridi hi Esha Atma. Indeed, this Atma resides in the heart. What is this heart? It's not the pumping heart, but we'll talk about that. Atra etad eka shatam nadinam. So from the main Nadi, which is called Sushumna, there are 101 Nadis, 101 branches coming out of this main Hrit. And then those 101 Tasam, from those Shatam Shatam Ekai Kasyam. So each one of those 101 is divided into 100 and again into 100. So it keeps dividing 101, then divide by 100, then divide by 100. So how many? The 10,000 something. And then this is multiplied by Dwa Saptatihi Sahasrani, 72,000 divisions of this. So there is the main, then 101, then each of those 101 gets divided into 100. Then further 100, and then divide that by 72,000. So Gurudev gives the figure in his commentary, 72 crore and 72 lakhs nadis. We'll talk about what are these nadis. So in English, in America, it is 720 million nadis. Now nadis are not arteries, veins and capillaries, but what they are.
Not nerves either.
They are not nerves either, but we'll talk about what are they. So Prati Shakhani Nadi Sahasrani. So 72,000 Bhavanti Asu from these. So from the original Nadi, and then there are two more, but Ida and Pingala, but we'll talk about that next week. So this Mukhya Nadi, it is from that Sushumna Nadi that all these other Nadis. And where does it start? It starts from the heart, and that's how Vyanaha Charati.
And in them the Vyana moves.
So in them the Vyana moves. So what is this Atma? So, again, we have to know the context. Here, Atma is not the supreme consciousness, but the individual being, Aham. When I say I as this individuality, that is Atma. And where does it reside? It resides in the heart. You said Atma is everywhere, but it's not the total consciousness we're talking about, but this individuality that I think myself to be this man, this woman, or this so and so. So that resides in the Hrit. And Hrit is described very beautifully. Brahman Maharishi will be doing in Updesh Sar. He will talk about that. So Hrit is the heart, but not the pumping heart. It is the core of my personality. Like when I say aham, I don't say aham here, aham, or I don't say aham in my shoulder. I say aham here in the heart. So this is where this feeling of I comes as the individual personality. And also they say that it is where Gurudev says where all the good qualities kindness, love, compassion, when they reside, that is said to be Hrit. So that is the source of all goodness. So it is said Bhagwan resides in the Hrit, and we'll talk a little more about Raman Maharishi Ji later on. So from here, the Vyana pervades. As we had said, there are 72 crores, 72 lakhs. First Sushumna Nadi, then 110, then divide into 100, then 100 more, and then divide into 72,000. So 720 million astral tubes. They are not arteries, they are not veins, capillaries. Those are all separate. These are the energy transmitting tubes. So they transmit the energy from the Hrit, from the heart, to all the 4 billion cells. See, each cell needs to be nourished. So that's why they need 720 million. I don't know how the rishis could count and figure all that out, but they have given it very scientifically. So each cell is nourished, and then based on the requirement, say if I'm exercising and lifting a lot of weights or running, then what will happen? More energy will go to the legs or will go to the arms. Or if I have overeaten and then I'm digesting, then again energy is directed to the appropriate organ. Then it will go to the, that's why they say after eating, you should not exercise, because or not even take bath, because when you're taking bath, again, the energy goes to the outer skin. So after eating, they say you should rest, because if you start exercising, then you get stomach ache because there is not enough energy, not enough blood. The science only understands that blood, blood is going to the digestive system, blood is going to the hands, feet. Yes, blood is going, but what is truly nourishing is the subtler. So these energy centers and the astral tubes are much subtler than blood. Blood is gross, you can see, but this energy you can feel. And there are a lot of people who specialize in doing this chakra balance. And there are 7 chakras. I can name them. Maybe does everybody know, or I can name them. So in the top of the forehead is the Sahasrara Chakra, which is where the soul leaves of a yogi, that yogi that goes, the rest of us, when we pass away, it goes out through the nose or through the mouth or from below. So the soul of the yogi leaves through the Sahasrara. That is where the highest connection with the total space happens. Then in the forehead is the Agnya Chakra, which is good for meditation and for intelligence. So that is Agnya Chakra. Then in the throat is the Vishuddhi Chakra. Vishuddhi Chakra is for speech and for truth. So speaking the truth. Then in the heart is the Anahat Chakra, which is related to emotions, love, compassion, so on. Then in the belly button is the Manipura. Manipura Chakra is related to energy. So all the power to do activities. That's why yogis, when they chant Om, they chant from the belly button. They don't just chant from Om from the throat, but the sound comes from the belly button. Then below that, below the belly button is Swadhisthana Chakra, which is related to the reproductive and excretory functions. And then at the base of the spine is the Mooladhara Chakra, which is connected to the earth. So all the energy from the earth. So there are 7: Sahasrara Chakra, Agnya Chakra, Vishuddhi, Anahat, Manipur, Swadhisthana, and Mooladhara. So 7 chakras. And these are the main chakras. And then those who are energy specialists, actually they say there are 114 chakras. Like even in the shoulders, the elbows, in the major joints, in the major, like the liver and kidney and also on. So there are 114 energy centers through which these 720 million astral tubes transmit energy to various parts of the body, and that's how the whole body is maintained. And Gurudev says there is no better transmission system anywhere in the world, whether you count UPS or US Postal Service or Amazon, nothing can compare to the efficiency and how all of them are done for the maintenance of the body. So just as everybody is serving the king in that various villages and maintaining the whole country, so similarly, each organ is maintaining, it's doing its job, each prana, to maintain the total body. And that is what the transfer of energy is called. And so when we talk about pranayam, people say you should do pranayam. People think pranayam is only breathing, but that is shwasayam. Shwasayam is breathing intake and out. Pranayam means proper control of intake, excretion, and conserving the energy. See, when I'm overindulging in whatever, fun or late night or parties or doing all those overindulgences, then I am wasting my pranas. So that's why they say that these pranas should be conserved and utilized in the particular way. And the core is this aham, where the jiva resides, which is actually the mukhya prana, which is Prajapati, which is Hiranyagarbha, which is the source of all the energy. And in meditation, Raman Maharishi Ji says it very beautifully in Updeshar, Hritstale mana swasthata kriya bhakti yoga bodhascha nishchitam. So the mind should be centered in the hrit, in the heart. Heart means the core of my personality. In meditation, they bring the mind from everything to the core and then transcend that to reach the Atman or the consciousness. So that is meditation. That's why he says, Hrit sthale mana swasthata kriya bhakti yoga bodhascha nishchitam. So the mind has to be centered. Hrit sthale mana swasthata has to be completely placed. And that is the source of karma, yoga, bhakti, and jnana. See, when I'm doing karma yoga, again, I work from the heart. Bhakti is Bhagwan is in the heart, and jnana is in the heart. So bhakti yoga bodhascha nishchitam. That's how it is determined. And in deep sleep, the mind goes into the hrit, but then there I am doing it in ignorance. That's why after deep sleep, we feel very refreshed, because the mind has centered in the heart where Bhagwan lives. And Bhagwan again is everywhere. But like they say, if you want to contact Washington, if you want to contact US government, you go to Washington. So if you want to contact Bhagwan, it is in the heart. That's why they say God is in my heart, or I love God with my heart. And as I said, each one is subtler than the other. Prana, then apana, then samana, then dhyana. And next week, we will do udana. And this subtle body why is it subtler? Because it continues even after death. Even when the gross body stops functioning, the subtle body continues, and the subtle body has 19 components. We know that 5 sense organs, ability to see, 5 organs of action, 5 pranas, and the 4 antakarna, mana, buddhi, chit, ahankar. So these 19 components, along with the vasanas, based on the vasanas, leave the gross body and then go to different worlds. And that we'll talk in the next class, that it is udana that takes us to different worlds based on my actions. So based on good actions, it will take us to the higher worlds. Based on lower actions, it will take us to lower worlds. And then again, decide where I should land again. So science understands human body as just these organs, liver, spleen, pancreas, bones, and they are thinking that they can make life, but they can only do the gross, but to find where they're going to find the subtle pranas and how are they going to put the energy, they don't have all that. And there are, people who specialize in energy study and energy transmission who focus on that, these chakras. So even though they're talking about artificial intelligence and all, that is still at the very gross level, at the computer level. But to go truly to the energy level where this beautiful system, how this beautiful system is maintained, how all the 4 billion cells are connected, and each cell is working for the totality. If one cell gets out of control and starts growing too much,
Cancer.
that is cancer, and that will lead to the death of the. So how each cell's growth is controlled, and then how the new cells are formed and old cells are destroyed. That's why they say every 7 years we get a new body. So here we have done the prana, which is the intake, and not only through the breath, but through our eyes, through our ears, nose, mouth. These fires are just as I offer in the fire ahuti. So I offer the sights into my eyes, sounds into my ears, through my nose, the smell, through the mouth, the speech, and all are being offered to Bhagwan within. So that's why each and every sense organ I should control and use it properly. And remember, we said yoga, not bhoga. So my goal of life should be yoga, to unite with the higher, not only, of course, not that one should not enjoy, but my goal of life is yoga, to unite, not bhoga. So this is prana, and then we talked about apana, the excretion, and then how samana efficiently digests all the food and divides it, different aspects of the food, and then it prepares the energy, takes the energy, and then transfers it to Vyana. And then Vyana, how we saw efficiently, there are 720 million astral tubes which take it to each cell. Very, very beautiful how they have done anatomy, physiology, very scientific Upanishad. There is no andhvishwas or false belief. It is all beautifully explained. Such a pleasure for me to study this and to share with all.
Like that Vyana,
Yeah.
Gurudev said that how it moves the red and the white cells in the body. They are constantly moving.
Yes.
Because of this Vyana. It controls everything, all the circulatory system that we have.
Right.
How all the time this cells, the blood is moving from heart to there to each cell of the body.
Right.
So
right.
that is all done by Vyana.
Right. And then even the BMR, the basic metabolic rate, is also controlled by samana and Vyana, even thinking. That's why when people fast and don't eat for a few days, in fact, in one of the Upanishads, they did that. This student was asked to fast for 14 days, have just water and... Huh?
I think it was
Shvetaketu, yeah, in Chandogya Upanishad. And he was told not to eat for 14 days, and he couldn't think. His mind couldn't work because he was just having water, and that's minimum amount. So then when he was fed, then again he said, oh, now I can think. Otherwise he couldn't remember shlokas, whatever the teacher was saying, he couldn't, because his mind was on food. So this system not only maintains the body, but my basal metabolic rate, my heart rate, the temperature 97.8, and thinking, all of that is maintained by these 4. And then Udana will talk about next week. Any other questions, any comments? Yeah, go ahead, Lata.
Would you say these nadis or astral tubes correspond to the arteries, capillaries, nerves?
No.
or
No.
they are, you cannot correspond them to the physical
They are run by
structure.
that.
It's just the more subtle
Yes.
lines. Is that what you're saying?
They're called astral tubes, subtle astral tubes, which transmit energy,
Okay.
which you can't
But
see.
they
like
are
that.
not corresponding to the arteries, capillaries, or
Sure, they
the
know.
nerves.
They nourish those. They nourish those heart
They
and
nourish
arteries and
those.
capillaries, which then
Okay.
carry the blood. But
Okay.
they are energy centers. They're like electricity. You can't see electricity, but you know
No.
electricity is being transmitted. So this is subtler than the arteries, veins, capillaries, because people often confuse the two. But there is a whole energy system which is different from the circulatory system. And
Okay.
the energy system are those 7 chakras we talked.
Right.
The 7 chakras, and then there are 114 sub chakras, you know.
Correct. But there is no physical, there is not physical lines of this energy. Is that
Right.
true?
Right. There's no physical lines, but people who do this energy work can tell that this chakra is active and this chakra is not working, and the energy transmittal. So people who are perceptive can perceive that, but it cannot be seen through a microscope. Like an artery, vein, capillary can be seen through a microscope. This cannot be, because it is subtler than, so the eyes cannot see it.
Okay.
But you can feel it, like you say, my energy is drained.
Correct. And second question, Rid, that the location is given to the heart, so to say.
Yeah.
But heart is not Rid.
No.
Right?
Generally, it's on the right side. Raman Maharishi, he says it's on
when
the
you
right
refer
side.
Rid, is it on the right?
Right
That's
side.
what he just gave that, but there is no physical. But whenever we say I, that's where we.
Yeah, we say I in the middle of the chest. So the heart is on the left side. So you can say middle or on the right side. But generally, people say I. So it is where this sensation of aham comes.
Correct.
Ego.
Egam, I am.
Where the reflection of the consciousness.
So why are we calling Rid as heart? Is that the simple English translation?
Right.
Is that why?
Right. But it's not the pumping heart. It is, they say now, like he has a good heart. They say he has a good heart or he has an evil heart. So heart is not that his heart is pumping good or not pumping good. It is his personality. So Gurudev says the center of our personality where all the good values reside. That is called Rit.
Okay. And then I have one joke. You said relative reality, right?
Right.
Can there be a relative truth?
Well, yeah, but then that won't be the truth. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So there cannot be a relative truth. It's an absolute truth, right?
I guess, yes.
Okay. All right. I just want to clarify that.
Well, I thought you were telling a joke.
Well, no, but because in today's politics, it seems there is everything relative truth.
Right.
And I don't understand that, because what I see is what I see, and that to me is the truth. But how can it be then relative truth?
Right. There can be different points of view, different opinions, but Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te Karya Akarya Vyavasthitam. So what is in the Shastras, what is in the scriptures, that is the absolute truth.
Okay.
And that is misinterpreted. And people can have the different points of view. Like that's why in our Gita also they're given 4 paths. Path of karma, bhakti, jnana, and dhyana. So the different people may have different strengths and may have different points of view, but the absolute truth is only one, and that is Atman, that is Brahman. That is God. That's why Shastra in the 16th chapter, Bhagavan ends with that. Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te Karya Akarya Vyavasthita.
So the importance that you give to what you dream is not real then. It's right? That's what,
Dream, those who have analyzed dream, at least in our Upanishads, they say dream is just a collection of thoughts. What happens is that whatever I have thought, like I have seen, suppose I've gone to a zoo, seen an elephant, and then next day I went to a dance performance and saw Kathakali. Then at night, I'll dream of an elephant dancing Kathakali.
right.
The mixture of different thoughts put
Yeah,
together
they are
creates
no
dream. So
making
dream
sense.
has no value.
In
Even
Dream
though
has-
the intellect is gone into,
Yeah.
you know,
intellect is gone to
Gone to
sleep,
sleep.
only mind is active and is creating. Even though Freud
Doesn't-
gives a lot of importance to analysis of dream, but Upanishad says dream is just illusion, just as the world is an illusion. That's why the world is compared to a dream.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? We have still 5 minutes. Any other comments? Yeah, Sharath, go ahead, please.
In reference to Lataben's question in terms of absolute truth, so would that be categorized under Vastu Tantra as opposed to Purusha Tantra?
Yes, Vastu Tantra as opposed to Purush Tantra. We had talked in the Thursday class.
yeah,
Vastu Tantra means
is
as it is. Purush Tantra is how I look at it. I may look at the same truth as somebody else. You know, the same person, I may look at it, but what that person really is. So that is Vastu Tantra, and Purush Tantra is how I interpret. Each one interprets it differently. You know,
through the mind. Or
through the mind, through the desires, through the vasanas.
conditioning.
Yes.
My other question is, we talked about karma, jnana, and bhakti all culminating into the heart. So when we transition from jnana to vijnana, where does this process eventually take place?
Again,
Because we're talking about intellect to subtle intellect, you know.
right.
So where does the vijnana, the wisdom?
So vijnana happens when the mind and intellect become yoga, become combined through the right understanding of the scriptures. And so again, it happens in the hrit. That's where all the good qualities and knowledge and everything happens. But it is all over. It's not that it is only confined here, but this is the origin. The heart in the center is the origin, but it pervades everywhere. The mind is subtler than the body. The mind actually goes outside. Like right now, you can think about your home in India, you know, or your intellect, you can, you know, think about Einstein's theory and all those. So mind and intellect are subtler than the body, but we only confine it to the body, but actually it extends beyond.
Its brain is not the mind.
Brain is not the mind. Yes.
Thank you.
So those things we have to be clear.
Right, right. So, but the
And
mind
this-
uses the brain to function, to, you know, through all the nerves and all that.
It's an instrument through which it expresses.
Thank you. Good questions. Anybody else? Satish bhai, you have anything to add? You're muted.
Sorry, I joined so late, but no, I think this is a really fascinating aspect of Vedanta, how these rishis have all these insights without having any tools, no equipment
Mind.
in the primitive world, in comparison to what we have today.
Right. Yeah.
Just it gives so much more really appreciation for our rishis, what they accomplished.
Right, right. Just through meditation, they just could connect with the totality, and they knew everything that's happening in the, not only in this world, but into multiple worlds. They could travel to the heavens and the lower, and all that they have described very correctly. Just through meditation, not without any instruments.
And
stars and all that, astronomy, astrology, all that.
Yes, every science. And on the other end of the spectrum, I feel I'm so insignificant how little I know. More I look into it, it's just more I feel like I am completely, mindless. It really is awakening
Thank you.
moment.
Yes.
Thank
No, they knew Ayurveda, they knew medicine, they knew
Yes.
science, they made missiles, they made
metallurgy,
yeah, metallurgy, right, all that.
every science. Yes.
Yes, very advanced. They were
Very advanced.
We'll do the closing prayer. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you very much. Hari Om.